Take a step back, remain silent, and they will beg you. Stoicism. Have you noticed how we're trapped in a constant storm of noise? Every notification, every opinion, every heated debate we dive into. But what if, instead of reacting, you simply took a step back and remained silent? Sounds simple, doesn't it? But in a world that demands your voice, silence becomes an act of defiance, a demonstration of true power. In today's video, Stoic in Your Life will guide you through 9 transformative lessons on how calmness and patience are far mightier than any argument. Take a step back, remain silent, and observe. What happens next? They'll beg you to speak. Intriguing, isn't it? Stay with us until the final lesson. It will leave you speechless. True wisdom arises in the quiet, and in mastering the art of non-reaction, you'll discover your greatest strength. Double asterisk. Before we dive into the lessons today, let me share with you a story that captures the essence of the wisdom we're about to explore. In a humble village bordering a vast and unforgiving desert, there lived an elderly woman named Inez, renowned for her tranquility and profound wisdom. Every morning, Inez would silently walk through the dunes, observing the interplay between the relentless wind and the shifting sands, the resilience of the cacti under the unyielding sun. One day, a young merchant, burdened by frustration and haste, approached her. He longed to understand the secret to earning respect and recognition, for he believed these would lead to prosperity and admiration in his trade. Inez listened patiently without interruption, and when he had finished his plea, she replied with calm clarity, "Come back tomorrow at dawn. Say nothing. Just observe." The next morning, the merchant returned, curious yet perplexed. Inez led him silently to the edge of the desert, instructing him to stand still and observe. As the hours passed, the merchant began to notice the desert's silent power. The way the wind sculpted the dunes, the imposing stillness of the landscape that commanded attention without uttering a sound. By the end of the day, understanding dawned upon him. Without speaking a word, the desert had taught him that true strength lies in quiet observation and calm reflection. Breaking the silence with a gentle smile, Inez said, "Sometimes taking a step back and remaining silent gives you the strength to return with clarity. And when you do, others will come to you, not out of obligation, but out of respect. Patience and calmness, dear friend, are the keys to being valued without demanding it." The merchant carried this lesson with him, and over time, his silent wisdom earned him the admiration and trust of the entire village. This timeless tale illustrates a profound truth. Silence and patience often achieve what noise and haste cannot. In modern life, where we are inundated with constant notifications, opinions, and demands to react, the art of stepping back and embracing silence is a rare and powerful skill. In a world that urges us to respond immediately, to argue and assert ourselves in every situation, silence becomes an act of quiet rebellion. It allows us to reclaim our strength, reflect deeply, and approach situations with clarity rather than impulsivity. When we pause to observe instead of react, we align ourselves with the natural flow of life. Picture the stillness of a lake. Its calm surface reflects the world around it clearly, but when disturbed, its reflection becomes chaotic. In the same way, when we remain still and silent amidst life's turbulence, we gain the clarity to see situations for what they truly are. Seneca's words echo this sentiment. If a man knows not to which port he sails, no wind is favorable. By stepping back, we anchor ourselves, ensuring we are not swept away by the storms of distraction and reaction. In practical terms, adopting silence and patience can transform our relationships, careers, and personal growth. Consider how often arguments escalate simply because both parties feel compelled to react immediately. By choosing silence, you create space for understanding, diffuse tension, and often lead others to reconsider their positions. This doesn't mean passivity or avoidance. It means choosing your moments of action with wisdom. As Epictetus reminds us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. Listening is a form of respect and strength. and it often leads to deeper connections and solutions. In the fast-paced world of business, stepping back and remaining silent can be equally impactful. Leaders who rush to assert their opinions without understanding the full picture often miss critical insights. On the other hand, those who practice patience and observe before acting are often the ones who inspire trust and loyalty. People gravitate toward those who exude calm confidence, just as the merchant discovered in Inez's lesson. This principle extends to personal challenges as well. When faced with setbacks, rather than reacting with frustration or despair, stepping back allows you to reassess and respond with deliberate action, turning obstacles into opportunities for growth. Ultimately, the wisdom of silence is not about retreating from life, but engaging with it more effectively. It's about mastering the art of non-reaction so that you can act with intention rather than impulse. The philosopher Lao Tzu once said, "Silence is a source of great strength, and this strength lies in its ability to ground us, to help us see beyond the noise, and to draw others to us not because we demand attention, but because we embody peace and wisdom." As you move forward in life, let this principle guide you. When chaos surrounds you, take a step back. When emotions flare, remain silent. In that space of calm, you will find clarity, strength, and the ability to lead yourself and others with dignity. In today's world, where words often lose their weight and noise drowns out meaning, the power of silence is more relevant than ever. Stay with us as we delve into 9 transformative lessons that will help you harness this power in your own life. And remember, true strength is not in how loud you speak, but in how well you listen, observe, and choose your words wisely. Let's begin this journey toward mastering the art of silence and the wisdom it brings. 1. The power of silence. In this fast-paced world of instant notifications, ceaseless conversations, and the relentless pressure to respond, silence has become a rare luxury, and yet, it is one of the most powerful tools we have. The philosopher Seneca once said, "The tranquility is the supreme good," reminding us that true peace and clarity come not from speaking or acting, but from knowing when to pause and listen, both to others and to ourselves. Let's consider what silence really means. It's not just the absence of words or noise. It's a deliberate space where you can retreat to reflect and reconnect with your innermost self. Silence is not empty. It is rich with potential, a sanctuary where your most profound thoughts and insights can surface, unclouded by the chaos of daily life. Take, for instance, the age-old practice of silent retreats, where individuals detach from the noise of the world to engage in deep introspection. These retreats have shown that stepping away from the clamor of life can lead to revelations about our values, priorities, and even our purpose. Why is it, then, that we hesitate to embrace silence? Is it because we fear what we might discover about ourselves, or have we simply forgotten its value in our rush to fill every moment with activity? In the middle of a heated argument, the other person is hurling words like daggers, and your instinct is to defend yourself, to retaliate. But what if instead you chose to remain silent? Not out of weakness, but out of strength, a deliberate act of self-control. That silence creates a pause, a moment of calm in the storm, forcing the other person to confront their own words. It's in this quiet space that the power of silence becomes evident, transforming what could have been a spiraling conflict into an opportunity for reflection and resolution. As the Stoics teach us, mastery of the self lies not in reacting impulsively, but in choosing how and when to respond. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In silence, we reclaim the power to choose our reactions wisely. In modern life, silence can also be an act of rebellion. We live in a world that constantly demands our attention, urging us to speak, to post, to weigh in on every issue. But when we take a step back and resist the urge to react, we challenge the status quo. Think about the leaders you admire most. They aren't the ones who speak the loudest or the most often, but those who exude a calm and measured presence. Their silence commands respect because it reflects self-assurance and clarity. They don't speak unless they have something meaningful to say, and when they do, people listen. This principle applies not just to leadership but to personal relationships as well. Silence in a moment of tension can be a gift, offering space for emotions to settle and for deeper understanding to emerge. It's a reminder that listening is as important, if not more so, than speaking. As the ancient wisdom of the Stoics reminds us, we have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak. How often do we truly listen? To others, to ourselves, to the still, small voice of wisdom that can only be heard in quiet moments? Silence teaches us patience, humility, and the art of truly hearing what matters most. Now let's bring this concept closer to home. Consider the relentless pace of modern work environments, where meetings, emails, and constant communication create a whirlwind of activity. In this chaos, those who cultivate silence, pausing to reflect before making decisions, often stand out. Their calm deliberation fosters trust, their words carry weight, and their actions inspire. Imagine yourself as that person, someone who doesn't rush to fill the void, but embraces it as a space for thoughtful action. The art of silence is also an invaluable tool for self-discovery. In the stillness, we confront ourselves, not the curated versions we present to the world, but our raw, unfiltered selves. It can be uncomfortable, even intimidating, to face this level of honesty, but it is also profoundly liberating. It's in these quiet moments that we uncover our true desires, fears, and strengths. The Stoics believed that self-knowledge is the foundation of a virtuous life, and silence is the doorway to that understanding. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." So, the next time the noise of life threatens to overwhelm you, resist the urge to add to it. Instead, step back, remain silent, and observe. Pay attention to the thoughts that arise, the emotions that surface, and the clarity that comes from not reacting immediately. In doing so, you'll not only find peace, but also discover the strength to navigate life's challenges with wisdom and grace. In the end, the power of silence is not just about withholding words, it's about creating space for what truly matters. It's about mastering the art of non-reaction so that your actions, when they do come, are deliberate, meaningful, and impactful. Remember, as Seneca wisely put it, the one who knows how to be silent knows how to listen to what truly matters. Silence is not a retreat from life, but a deeper engagement with it. 2. Listen with the soul. Have you ever noticed how, when someone is speaking, most of us are already crafting our response rather than truly listening to what's being said? It's as if we've been programmed to react rather than to understand. Listening, it seems, has lost its depth in a world that prizes quick opinions and instant answers. But let me ask you this. How much could we gain? How many conflicts could we avoid if we simply took a step back, remained silent, and truly listened? The Stoics, masters of calmness and self-control, emphasized the profound importance of pausing before reacting, teaching us that wisdom lies not in impulsive action but in deliberate understanding. "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak," said Epictetus, reminding us of the essential balance we often overlook. Listening with intention is not just about controlling our responses, but about transforming how we engage with others. Imagine for a moment how many misunderstandings, arguments, or hurt feelings could be avoided if we approached conversations with the goal of understanding rather than replying. This isn't about staying silent all the time or withdrawing from life, but about learning to pause, to reflect, and to allow the other person's words to truly land before we react. The Stoics believed that the mastery of one's emotions and impulses wasn't just a personal practice. It extended to how we interact with the world around us. How often have you found yourself offering advice or solutions the moment someone shares their struggles? "You should do this," or "If I were you, I'd try that." Yet so often people aren't looking for advice. They're seeking understanding. Sometimes the greatest gift you can offer is your presence, an open ear free of judgment or interruption. Seneca reminds us that silence is a lesson learned from the many pains of life, suggesting that the power of simply listening is born of experience and empathy. In moments of silence, we can create a space where others feel truly heard, where their words are not just received but valued. This kind of active, thoughtful listening can transform not just your relationships, but the way people perceive you. The person who listens deeply, who pauses before responding, exudes a quiet strength that commands respect. It's not about being the loudest voice in the room, but about being the wisest in the art of listening. And as you listen, you'll find that silence itself can be eloquent. A well-timed pause can communicate more understanding and respect than a flurry of words ever could. As you find yourself in a conversation, try something different. Take a step back, pause, and resist the urge to fill the silence with solutions or reactions. As the Stoics teach us, wisdom often emerges not from what we say, but from the space we create to truly hear. In today's world, where everyone seems to be shouting to be heard, the ability to listen deeply is a rare and transformative skill. It's not only a way to connect more authentically with others, but also a path to personal growth. By listening with an open mind and heart, you're not just understanding others. You're cultivating patience, empathy, and inner calm within yourself. This practice, rooted in Stoic philosophy, reminds us that silence is not empty. It is full of possibility. When we quiet our minds and let go of the need to react, we make room for insight, understanding, and true connection. So the next time someone comes to you with their struggles, try this. Pause. Don't rush to speak. Don't feel the need to solve. Just be present. What you'll find is that the act of listening can be as healing for you as it is for them. In the quiet space of your attention, you'll discover a new depth in your relationships and a new strength in yourself. The Stoics wisely said, "The true measure of a person is how well they can remain calm and composed amidst the storms of life." Listening, after all, is not just a skill. It's a testament to your strength, your patience, and your humanity. 3. The value of not reacting. A tense situation arises or a misunderstanding occurs, and your instincts push you toward an impulsive response. This reaction button is something we all have, a primal urge to defend ourselves, to speak up, to act. But have you ever paused to ask yourself, what am I really achieving with this reaction? The Stoics, those ancient masters of self-control, understood a profound truth. The real strength lies not in reacting, but in choosing not to react. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." In life, reacting has become second nature. A misplaced word from a colleague, a disagreement at home, or even a rude comment online can pull us into a spiral of defensiveness. But think about it. How often has a quick reaction truly served you? Maybe it felt good in the moment, like asserting yourself was the only way to maintain your dignity. But did it solve the problem? Or did it create new tensions, lingering regret, or escalate an already fraught situation? Most of the time, our reactions only add fuel to the fire, creating a cycle of unnecessary conflict. The Stoics believed in breaking this cycle. They taught that taking a step back, observing without judgment, and mastering your impulses is the ultimate form of strength. Cultivating this ability is not about suppressing emotions or pretending they don't exist. Instead, it's about giving yourself the space to understand them before they dictate your actions. Picture this. You're in a heated discussion, and your mind is racing with comebacks. Your instinct is to lash out, to have the last word. But what if, instead, you paused, took a deep breath, and chose silence? That silence, far from being passive, is a deliberate act of power. It disarms the other person, forces them to reflect, and grants you the clarity to respond, if a response is even needed. When you've seen someone remain calm in a chaotic situation, their composure isn't just impressive, it's magnetic. It creates a sense of authority, of wisdom that draws others in. This is the strategic silence that the Stoics championed. Not silence to punish or manipulate, but silence as a tool to think, to rise above the fray. It's the kind of silence that says, I won't be dragged into this chaos and I don't need to prove myself to anyone. When you master this skill, you'll find that people begin to respect you, not because you've spoken the loudest, but because your calm demeanor speaks volumes. And yet, let's not pretend this is easy. Taking a step back when every fiber of your being wants to react can feel unnatural, even uncomfortable. You might worry that staying silent makes you appear weak, or that you're forfeiting your chance to stand up for yourself. But the truth is, the greatest defense often lies in not engaging at all. By refusing to play into the game, you protect your dignity and retain control over your emotions. As the old saying goes, he who angers you conquers you. Why let someone else dictate your actions? When you choose silence, you're reclaiming your power, and that is the ultimate act of strength. This practice is not limited to personal confrontations. In our fast-paced digital age, where a single tweet or post can spark a whirlwind of reactions, the discipline of non-reaction is more relevant than ever. How often do we see people caught up in public arguments, each side shouting louder but understanding less? Imagine the impact if, instead of responding in haste, we paused, reflected, and asked ourselves, does this really require my energy? Does this align with my values? Most of the time, the answer is no. As Seneca put it, better to conquer your anger than to conquer a city. The beauty of not reacting immediately is that it gives you the upper hand, not over others, but over yourself. It allows you to approach challenges with a clear mind and make decisions rooted in wisdom rather than emotion. It also shifts the dynamic with those around you. When you stop reacting impulsively, people begin to notice. They realize they can't provoke you, that you operate on a different level, one of calm and control. Some might mistake your silence for weakness, but those who understand true strength will see it for what it is, a reflection of inner peace and self-mastery. So the next time you feel the pull to react, whether to a criticism, an argument, or even a fleeting annoyance, pause, breathe, remind yourself that you are not a slave to your impulses. Think of the wisdom of Epictetus, who said, "The silence is the echo of a mind that has found peace." When you choose not to react, you're not ignoring the situation. You're rising above it. You're showing that your actions are dictated by reason, not emotion, and that your strength lies in your ability to remain composed. In the end, the courage to not react is a skill, an art, and a gift to yourself. It's a way to preserve your energy for what truly matters, to avoid the regrets that come with impulsive actions, and to navigate life with dignity and grace. Yes, it takes practice, but with each pause, with each moment of calm reflection, you'll find yourself growing stronger, more centered, and more in control. And in that silence, you'll discover a power that speaks louder than any words ever could. 4. The calm in the storm. Imagine you are caught in the middle of a storm, not a physical one, but the kind of storm life often throws at us. Family problems that test your patience, work challenges that feel like unending battles, and friends who blur the line between supporting you and complicating your life further. You're standing at the eye of this emotional hurricane, overwhelmed, unsure if you'll rise above it or be consumed. But now consider this. What if, instead of running or succumbing to panic, you chose to pause, to breathe deeply, to let the chaos swirl around you, but remain steady at your core? This isn't just self-help talk. It's a principle rooted in ancient Stoic wisdom. This calmness is not about denial or inaction. It's a deliberate choice, a strategy that enables you to see through the fog of turmoil and make rational decisions. Think of it as creating a still center amidst the chaos, where clarity prevails over confusion. In our fast-paced modern lives, this practice feels almost revolutionary. How often do we find ourselves swept up in emotional currents, snapping at a colleague in a tense meeting, overreacting to a family member's comment, or letting external pressures dictate our actions? But those who can maintain composure in these moments do more than just survive the storm. They stand out as anchors of strength and reason. In a tense work meeting where voices are raised, ideas are tossed around frantically, and tempers flare. The room is filled with noise, and solutions seem impossible to grasp in the chaos. Instead of adding to the turmoil, you decide to take a step back. You stay silent, observe, and absorb. While others exhaust themselves in the noise, you remain a steady presence. Then, when the dust settles and all eyes turn to you, your calm and measured response brings clarity to the room. This isn't luck. It's the power of mastering your emotions. As the Stoics believed, no man is free who is not master of himself. Epictetus. By controlling your impulses, you not only gain clarity for yourself, but also inspire confidence in others. But this practice isn't just for workplace conflicts. Life's emotional chaos often hits closer to home. Think about the times when things didn't go as planned. Relationships frayed, unexpected challenges arose, or plans fell apart. In these moments, it's easy to spiral into frustration or despair, reacting impulsively in ways that only deepen the turmoil. The Stoic philosophy teaches us to focus only on what we can control and to let go of what lies beyond our power. Imagine the strength you gain when you shift your energy from fighting the storm to standing firm within it. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have to assemble your life action by action and be satisfied if each one achieves its goal as far as possible." In other words, even in the storm, there is progress in the calm choices you make. Let's look at another metaphor. Think of yourself as the captain of a ship caught in rough seas. The winds are howling, waves crashing against your vessel, and the crew is panicked. If you let your fear take over, you risk steering the ship into further danger. But if you remain calm, assess the situation, and act decisively, you can guide the ship safely through the storm. This is what staying calm in the face of life's challenges can achieve, not avoiding the storm, but navigating through it with purpose and clarity. It's not about being emotionless, but about ensuring that emotions don't cloud your judgment. In a world that often rewards loudness and impulsiveness, practicing calm can feel counterintuitive. You may worry that staying silent makes you seem weak or passive. But the truth is, those who can keep their composure in chaotic situations are often seen as leaders, even if they never raise their voices. Silence can be a form of strength, a signal that you're not easily rattled, that you're confident enough to let the storm pass before you act. This strategic silence isn't about withdrawing from life, but about engaging with it on your terms. It's a skill that requires practice, but the rewards are transformative. Focusing on what's within your power, you shift from being reactive to being proactive, from feeling helpless to being empowered. And when you act, your decisions come from a place of clarity and intention, not fear or frustration. Remember, the calm in the storm isn't about erasing the chaos around you. It's about finding your inner stillness despite it. As Marcus Aurelius wisely stated, the tranquility that comes when you stop caring about what they say, or think, or do. Only what you do. The world will always throw storms your way, whether in relationships, work, or personal challenges. But when you cultivate the courage to pause, to remain silent in the face of noise, and to act only when the time is right, you transform yourself into a source of strength not only for yourself, but for those around you. Thank you for spending your time with us today. Whether this is your first step into Stoicism or part of a journey you've been on for years, your presence here matters. Let us know where you are on this path. Comment, "Just starting," if you're new, or Stoic at heart, if these teachings resonate with you already. Your input shapes this community and inspires us to dive deeper into creating content that supports your growth. Together, let's build a life of calm, wisdom, and strength. See you next time. 5. The wisdom of observing. Let's pause to think that perhaps the greatest strength isn't in always having an answer, but in knowing when to stay silent. It sounds counterintuitive in a world that glorifies being heard, but consider how often emotions have swept you away simply because you didn't take a moment to step back and observe. In today's noisy, fast-paced world, where everyone feels compelled to shout their opinions and demand instant responses, the art of quiet observation is more relevant than ever. The Stoics, often regarded as the philosophers of discipline and clarity, teach us something profound. Wisdom begins when we resist the urge to react and instead give ourselves the space to truly see what is happening around us. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters, said Epictetus, reminding us that the key to peace lies in how we respond to the challenges of life. To observe without reacting is not passive. It is a skill, an intentional act of self-control that places you firmly in charge of your emotions and your actions. Think of the mind as a spectator at a play, not drawn into the drama, but understanding the story better than anyone immersed in it. This perspective requires discipline because staying silent or still when everything around you screams for a response is far from easy. When tensions rise, our first instinct is to defend, to argue, or to act. But imagine the power of stepping back instead, of becoming the calm within the storm. In doing so, you not only conserve your energy, but also gain clarity that others in the chaos cannot. Let me share a story from everyday life. Picture yourself at a family gathering where an argument breaks out over something trivial, a remark that struck a nerve or a long-standing tension bubbling to the surface. Most people jump into the fray, raising their voices and intensifying the conflict. But you, instead of reacting, choose to stay silent. You observe. You notice the emotions at play, the defensiveness, the need to be right, the frustration. By not engaging, you create a space for the heat to dissipate, and when you finally do speak, your words carry the weight of calm reflection rather than the sting of reaction. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, you can commit injustice by doing nothing, but often by saying nothing, you can achieve justice and understanding. This principle applies beyond family conflicts. In professional settings, for example, where decisions can be clouded by egos and rushed opinions, the person who takes a step back often becomes the one people turn to for guidance. By pausing and observing rather than reacting impulsively, you place yourself in a position of authority, not because you demand it, but because others naturally gravitate toward your composed energy. This isn't about being manipulative. It's about realizing that silence, when used wisely, is not emptiness, but a space filled with potential. As the Stoic saying goes, silence is the true friend that never betrays. Now, how do you cultivate this skill in practical terms? Start small. The next time you feel anger or frustration building, don't act on it immediately. Instead, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this reaction necessary? Can I afford to wait before responding? Often, this simple pause can shift your perspective entirely, revealing that what once felt urgent isn't nearly as critical as you thought. When you hold back from reacting, you gain control, not over the situation itself, which may remain chaotic, but over your inner state, which is where true strength lies. This practice might feel unnatural at first, even uncomfortable. In a society that equates quick responses with intelligence and engagement, staying silent might make you feel as though you're losing your voice. The beauty of observing without reacting is that it deepens your understanding of both others and yourself. When you resist the urge to jump in, you see the dynamics of a situation more clearly. You notice things that others miss, the motivations behind words, the patterns in behavior, the emotions that drive decisions. And in understanding these, you become more effective not only in your interactions but in managing your own responses. The wise man does not expose himself needlessly to danger, since there are few things he cares for enough. But he is willing, in great crises, to give even his life, knowing that under certain conditions it is not worthwhile to live, wrote Aristotle. While we may not face life or death crises daily, this idea reminds us of the importance of discernment, of choosing when to act and when to hold back. In a situation where emotions are high and the urge to react is strong, take a deep breath. Step back. Observe. You'll find that in doing so, you not only gain a clearer understanding of the moment, but also command greater respect from those around you. This is the power of quiet observation. It transforms chaos into clarity and impulsiveness into wisdom. And when the moment finally comes for you to speak or act, your response will carry a gravity and intention that impulsive reactions never could. As you navigate life's noise, remember this. You don't always need to have the last word. You don't need to be the loudest voice in the room. True wisdom lies in knowing when to be silent and when to speak. The world is full of noise, but the person who listens, observes, and chooses their moments carefully stands out. As you practice this art, you'll find that silence isn't weakness, it's strength, patience, and confidence rolled into one. And in a world obsessed with being heard, the one who masters the art of observing will always have the upper hand. 6. When silence says more. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is absolutely nothing. You know the feeling, don't you? When the words swirling in your mind beg to escape, yet something deep within you tells you to hold them back. In today's world, where everyone is encouraged to speak, express, and defend their stance at every turn, the idea of choosing silence feels almost radical. But consider this. What if the most profound strength lies not in filling the air with words, but in the deliberate act of remaining silent? The Stoics believed in this principle wholeheartedly, reminding us that not every situation demands a response. As Marcus Aurelius so wisely put it, you always have the option of having no opinion. Imagine how freeing that idea can be, choosing silence as a way of maintaining control over yourself while the world around you spins in chaos. Think back to a time when a conversation or argument spiraled out of control. Every word spoken seemed to fuel the flames, and no matter how hard you tried to explain or defend yourself, the situation only worsened. Did you notice how exhausting it was? How the more you said, the less you were heard? This is where the wisdom of silence comes in. Instead of adding more noise to the chaos, stepping back and holding your tongue can disrupt the cycle. Silence in these moments isn't passive, it's intentional. It's a response so unexpected and rare that it forces others to pause and reflect. Have you ever noticed how silence unsettles people? It makes them confront their own words, their own emotions. It holds up a mirror they weren't prepared to face. In doing so, your silence speaks louder than any argument could. Silence, when used wisely, becomes a powerful tool for reflection, not just for others, but for yourself. It allows you to step outside the emotional whirlwind and see the situation for what it truly is. How often do we let our emotions dictate our responses, only to regret them later? The Stoics taught us to master this impulse. If you are pained by external things, said Epictetus, it is not they that disturb you but your own judgment of them, and it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. Imagine the strength that comes from choosing not to react, from holding your ground when everything around you demands you act impulsively. In that silence, you reclaim your power, proving that you are not at the mercy of your emotions or anyone else's expectations. This principle extends to personal relationships as well. How often do arguments with loved ones escalate because neither side is willing to step back and let silence do the work? By choosing to pause, you give the other person space to process their emotions, and you give yourself the opportunity to respond with clarity instead of impulse. Silence doesn't mean giving up or admitting defeat. It means refusing to engage in a way that compromises your peace of mind. The beauty of this approach is that it often shifts the dynamic entirely. People begin to realize that they don't need to fight to be heard. They just need to listen, just as you are. Of course, this is easier said than done. In a world that equates speaking with power and silence with weakness, holding back can feel unnatural, even risky. But think about the long-term gains. Every time you choose silence over unnecessary words, you strengthen your ability to remain calm under pressure, to think clearly and to act with intention. You're not just managing a single moment. You're training yourself to approach life with the composure and wisdom of someone who understands what truly matters. The Stoics called this mastery over oneself the ultimate form of freedom. Freedom, wrote Epictetus, is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. When you adopt this mindset, you'll find that people start to view you differently. Your silence, rather than making you invisible, sets you apart. It communicates that you are someone who doesn't need to prove themselves with words. You command respect not by being the loudest voice, but by being the calmest presence. Over time, you'll notice a shift. People will start to seek your perspective, valuing your input, because they know it comes from a place of thoughtfulness and restraint. And when they beg for your words, you'll know that it wasn't noise that earned their respect, but the quiet confidence you exude. Let's practice stepping back, holding your tongue, and observing. Watch how the dynamics change, how the energy shifts when you refuse to be pulled into the fray. This isn't about withdrawing from life. It's about engaging with it more effectively. In a world that is constantly shouting, silence is a revolutionary act. As Carl Jung once said, silence is not empty, it is full of power. And in that power lies your strength, your clarity, and your wisdom. 7. The art of letting go. Have you ever noticed how life becomes more complicated the harder you try to hold on to things? Whether it's people, possessions, or even ideas, the tighter your grip, the more elusive peace becomes, slipping through your fingers like sand. But what if I told you that the secret isn't in holding tighter, but in learning to let go? The Stoics, known for their pragmatic wisdom, would argue that letting go isn't just a philosophical notion. It's one of the most powerful acts of self-liberation. As Epictetus reminds us, don't seek for things to happen as you wish, but wish for things to happen as they do, and you will have peace. Letting go, then, is not giving up. It's stepping back, allowing yourself to break free from the weight of control and expectation, and finding strength in surrender. In our modern lives, we're taught to cling. We hold on to relationships, careers, or dreams, convinced that our happiness depends on keeping everything exactly as it is, or making it conform to our desires. But think for a moment about how exhausting this is. The constant struggle to preserve, to control, to maintain, leaves no room for clarity, no space for the natural ebb and flow of life. Letting go doesn't mean abandoning what you care about. It means releasing the stranglehold of fear and anxiety that comes with attachment. It means understanding that while you can influence some aspects of life, you can never truly control the outcomes. And in that understanding lies a profound freedom. In a heated argument, one of those endless back and forths where both sides are determined to prove they're right, your instinct might be to dig in, to escalate, to out-argue the other person. But what happens if, instead of clinging to the need to win, you step back? You remain silent, not out of defeat, but out of a deeper comprehension of the moment. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. The person you were arguing with begins to fill the silence, searching for your input, your validation. In stepping back, you haven't lost power. You've reclaimed it. This is the art of letting go in action, not disengaging from the conversation, but detaching from the need to control its outcome. The Stoics knew this well. Their idea of letting go wasn't about withdrawal or indifference, but about focusing on what truly matters and releasing what you can't control. Letting go is an act of wisdom. It's recognizing the limits of your influence while channeling your energy toward what is within your control, your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting that care become a burden that weighs you down. Think about how often we let expectations rob us of peace. We expect people to behave a certain way, situations to unfold as we hope, or outcomes to align perfectly with our plans. When reality doesn't meet these expectations, frustration sets in. But what if you let go of these expectations and accepted life as it is, not as you wish it to be? The Stoics teach us that peace isn't found in the absence of challenges, but in how we approach them. When you release the need to control every detail, you create space for clarity, resilience, and even unexpected solutions to emerge. This practice, of course, isn't easy. Letting go requires patience, self-awareness, and a willingness to confront the discomfort of change. It's not something that happens overnight. It's a skill you cultivate over time. Start small. Letting go doesn't mean losing what you care about. It means freeing yourself from the illusion that your happiness depends on external things. It's not about renouncing the world, but about finding peace within it. In relationships, letting go might mean accepting that you can't change someone else's behavior, only how you respond to it. In work, it might mean focusing on doing your best without obsessing over results you can't control. And in life, it might mean embracing uncertainty as part of the journey, rather than fighting against it. Ultimately, letting go is an act of courage. It's daring to trust that you will be okay, even if things don't go as planned. It's stepping back, creating space for life to unfold as it will, and finding peace in the process. As you practice this, you'll notice a shift, not just in yourself, but in how others respond to you. People are drawn to those who exude calm, who don't cling or grasp, but flow with life's rhythms. They'll seek your perspective, your steadiness, your wisdom, and in letting go, you'll realize you haven't lost anything. You've gained the freedom to live fully and authentically. 8. The patience that transforms. Have you ever found yourself rushing to make things happen, as if every moment of waiting is a wasted opportunity? We've all been there, caught in the trap of thinking that patience equals passivity, that the time spent waiting is somehow time lost. But what if I told you that patience isn't a void, but a powerful space filled with potential? The Stoics understood this deeply. To them, patience wasn't about enduring. It was about observing, understanding, and positioning oneself to act wisely when the time was right. As Epictetus wisely said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you respond to it that matters." And often, the best response is the one that comes not from haste, but from careful, deliberate waiting. In a conversation where you've been eager to jump in, to respond, to assert your opinion. In that rush, you miss the subtle details, the unspoken cues, and you often end up saying something you later regret, or that misses the mark entirely. Now, consider what happens when you pause instead. When you take a breath, let the other person finish, and allow yourself a moment of reflection. Suddenly, your response carries more weight, more clarity, and more thoughtfulness. That small pause transforms a conversation into a meaningful exchange. This is the essence of patience, not just enduring the moment but mastering it. Patience is about giving yourself the space to see clearly and respond wisely, even in the face of urgency. The modern world, with its relentless push for speed and instant results, has conditioned us to think that slowing down is a weakness. We're told to act quickly, decide fast, and keep moving. But this constant rush often leads to mistakes, missed opportunities, and unnecessary stress. The Stoics would argue that the real strength lies in stepping back and embracing the quiet power of patience. "Time discovers truth," said Seneca, and it's in those moments of waiting that we often find the clarity we need. By resisting the impulse to act immediately, you open yourself to possibilities you might otherwise overlook. A story often told in leadership circles. A military commander faced with a crisis chooses not to act immediately, but instead takes a step back to assess the situation. While his advisors demand quick decisions, he watches, waits, and lets the chaos settle. In the stillness, patterns emerge, opportunities become clear, and when he finally acts, his decision is precise and impactful. This isn't hesitation, it's strategic patience. The same principle applies in our daily lives. Whether it's a heated argument, a stressful work decision, or even a personal dilemma, taking the time to pause often reveals paths forward that weren't visible in the rush of the moment. But let's be clear, patience doesn't mean doing nothing. It's not about retreating from life or avoiding decisions indefinitely. It's about understanding when to act and when to wait, about recognizing that some situations require time to unfold. Have you ever noticed how some problems seem to resolve themselves when left alone? It's not magic. It's the natural flow of life. By stepping back, by not forcing outcomes, you allow things to develop organically. And in that space, you often find solutions that are far better than anything you could have forced into existence. Nelson Mandela captured this beautifully when he said, "Waiting is not mere inaction. It is the anticipation of what is to come." Patience also brings a kind of inner peace that haste can never offer. When you learn to wait, to observe without immediately reacting, you free yourself from the anxiety of always needing to control everything. You begin to see that the world doesn't revolve around your timelines or expectations. Instead, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of life, which is often slower and more deliberate than we'd like. This alignment isn't resignation, it's wisdom. It's understanding that you can't control everything, but you can control how you engage with what unfolds. Practicing patience isn't easy. It requires discipline, self-awareness, and a willingness to embrace discomfort. But it's also deeply rewarding. The next time you feel the urge to rush, whether it's to speak, to decide, or to act, pause. Ask yourself, what's the hurry? What am I afraid of missing? What might I gain by waiting? You'll often find that the answers lead to a calmer, more thoughtful approach. And as you practice patience, you'll notice something remarkable. The world begins to respond differently to you. People listen more intently to your words because they know you speak with intention. Decisions become easier because you're acting from clarity, not chaos. And most importantly, you start to feel a deeper sense of control, not over the world, but over yourself. Patience is transformative. It's not just a tool for managing time. It's a way of being that shifts how you experience life. It teaches you to value the space between stimulus and response, to trust that waiting often brings wisdom, and to find strength in stillness. As life tests your patience, embrace the moment. Step back, remain silent, and let time do its work. You might find that in those quiet spaces everything becomes clearer, and the answers you were rushing to find come to you effortlessly. As the Stoics remind us, true power lies not in how fast we act, but in how wisely we wait. Your journey into Stoicism is just beginning, or maybe you've been on this path for a while. Either way, we're grateful to have you here. Take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. If this is your first encounter with Stoicism, type "starting strong." And if you're already practicing, let us know with "living Stoic." Your reflections make this community a richer place for everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and share this video with someone who might find peace in these teachings. Let's keep growing together. 9. The peace of accepting. Life often presents these moments where no matter how much you push, pull, or will something to change, it refuses to bend to your expectations. But what if the answer isn't in changing what's outside, but in transforming how you see what's beyond your control? This is where acceptance steps in, not as a surrender, but as a bridge to inner peace. As the Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Acceptance is the quiet courage to face what is and to find calm not by forcing control, but by choosing how to respond. The beauty of acceptance lies in its simplicity, though applying it often feels anything but simple. It doesn't mean giving up or resigning yourself to a lesser life. It's about stepping back and seeing clearly, unclouded by anger, fear, or knee-jerk reactions. Picture yourself in a heated argument. Words fly like arrows, tempers flare, and every instinct tells you to defend, to retaliate, to assert your position. But instead, you take a breath. You remain silent, not out of defeat, but out of wisdom. That pause, that refusal to engage in the chaos, transforms the energy in the room. Suddenly, you're no longer a participant in the storm, but an observer. And in that moment of silence, you gain clarity that reaction would have obscured. This is the essence of acceptance. The power to step back, let go of the need to control, and see things as they are, not as your emotions dictate. The Stoics understood this deeply, teaching that while we cannot control the external world, we can always control how we respond to it. Epictetus famously said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Acceptance, then, is not passive. It is an active practice of shifting your perspective. Instead of viewing life through the lens of what's wrong or unfair, you start to see it as it is, without judgment. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop letting frustration and resistance consume your energy. When you accept what you cannot change, you free yourself from the mental tug-of-war that keeps you tethered to stress and anxiety. When you fight against reality, you create noise. That noise drowns out your ability to think clearly, to respond wisely, and to find peace. Acceptance silences that noise. It allows you to step out of the emotional whirlwind and into a place of calm observation. From this space, you can act, not react, with intention and wisdom. Have you ever noticed how the calmest person in the room often becomes the most influential? Their presence, grounded in stillness, has the power to shift the energy of everyone around them. This is not weakness, it's strength. As the saying goes, still waters run deep. Acceptance doesn't just transform your internal world, it changes how others respond to you. Imagine a chaotic discussion where everyone is speaking over each other, their voices rising in frustration. You choose to remain silent, your composure creating a stark contrast to the noise. Slowly, people begin to quiet down, drawn by the magnetism of your calm. They turn to you, not because you demanded attention, but because your stillness invited them to pause and reflect. This is the power of acceptance in action. By letting go of the need to control the room, you end up influencing it more profoundly than if you had tried to force your way in. But how do you practice acceptance, especially when life's challenges feel overwhelming? First, remind yourself that not everything needs to be fixed or resolved in the moment. Giving yourself permission to step back is the first act of acceptance. This doesn't just bring peace, it creates space for wisdom, for creativity, and for solutions to emerge naturally. As Nelson Mandela once said, "We must use time wisely and accept that the time is always ripe to do right." By learning to accept, you don't lose power. You gain it. You align yourself with the rhythm of life, finding strength in your ability to adapt rather than resist. When you embrace acceptance, you're not just transforming your perspective, you're inviting those around you to do the same. Your calm becomes a beacon, a reminder that peace isn't found in controlling the world but in understanding it. And as you practice this, you'll notice a profound shift. The things that once felt overwhelming lose their hold on you. The people who once demanded your energy begin to respect your boundaries. And the situations that once seemed impossible to navigate become opportunities for growth. So, the next time you find yourself frustrated by what you cannot change, pause. Take a step back, remain silent, and let go of the need to control the uncontrollable. In that space of acceptance, you'll find clarity, strength, and peace. Remember, as my father used to say, the world doesn't need to change for you to find peace. Sometimes, all that needs to change is how you see it. The Stoics understood this, and so can you. True power lies not in mastering the world, but in mastering yourself. Second, cultivate an inner silence, a quiet space within you where your thoughts can settle and your emotions can lose their grip. This silence isn't emptiness, it's clarity. And third, practice patience. Acceptance is not a switch you flip, but a muscle you strengthen over time. Each time you choose to let go of what you can't control, you build resilience and inner peace. Acceptance doesn't mean you stop striving for a better life or abandon your goals. It simply means you stop fighting against the unchangeable. It's the art of flowing with the current instead of exhausting yourself swimming against it. Thank you for joining me on this journey through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. Remember, the true power often lies in the pauses we take, the silence we embrace, and the calm we cultivate in the face of chaos. I encourage you to take these principles and apply them to your daily life. Observe how stepping back and remaining silent can transform not only your perspective, but also your relationships and decisions. If this video resonated with you, I'd love to hear about your experiences. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Write, "Your silence holds more value than your words," to let me know you've made it to the end. Don't forget to subscribe to Stoic in Your Life. Turn on notifications and check out the last 2 videos we've recommended for you. Your engagement motivates us to continue creating content that inspires personal growth and happiness. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to seeing you in our next adventure.